We are live.
Okay, it says it up there. The other side's just not quite ready yet, so we're just going to give it a sec. So it says it's live on Facebook. Oh yeah, I see it showing up on my stream. Okay, there we go. We got the magic of Zoom and live all integrated together. And we have Anya Day, which is up there with the beautiful flowers in the background. And we have Patrick, who's even labeled himself there nicely for us all to understand. I'll have to bring my name tag for next time. How about we just start with introducing each other or yourself? So let's start with Anya.
Hi, I'm Anya. I'm currently based in Los Angeles, California, and holding it down in the root chakra of the United States. And just riding the waves of this interesting time frame that we are all in.
And surviving and thriving and shining.
Thriving, more thriving, less surviving these days.
Yeah. And she's smiling and she can giggle and all those things. That's awesome. Thank you for coming. Let's go to Mr. Patrick and his self-labeling there. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm Patrick Perna. I live just outside of Toronto in Ontario, Canada. And I don't think there's any chakras around where I live. I know there's one near Paul. And I just joined. I didn't even know I was going to be on this. So it's going to be interesting to see how this goes.
Cool. Awesome. So what nobody knows is we decided that going forward, we're going to make this maybe a weekly event. We'll see. Probably maybe this time frame, we haven't talked about it yet, but just watch for it. And anybody that wants to sit in and share some spiritual knowledge or talk to people and grow from a community of aware people and getting that stuff out, that would be great. So for myself, I'm Paul Hanrader. I had the luck to be interviewed by Anya last week, and we had a beautiful discussion about sacred sexuality and root chakras and all this kind of stuff. I'm in a little town called Chestermere. It's just outside of Calgary. It's a little lake community. I like the little smaller vibe. I've lived here for quite a while, probably 30 years. Moved all around in the area, but out here. Yeah, I think to summarize it, we're all what we'd consider woke up people, and we love to talk about it and share about it and find out where maybe our understandings are broken and learn that from other people and get questioned and called out in nice, beautiful ways to have us find a new, better truth. So, so I promised Anya we were going to start interviewing her a little bit, and we'll see how this goes. I'm sure anybody that's followed Anya has seen those signs in the background, and I've been very curious behind her head there, Adelphi Street and DeKalb Avenue.
Yes.
Is that some reminder of New York, or you talk about it? So I'm going to let you tell us about it.
That's the street that I first lived on when I first got there, Adelphi Street and DeKalb Avenue. And it was just it's a very pivotal street to me because I have a lot of memories attached to it. And when I got back home to Los Angeles after living there, I have a series of paintings that I started working on, and I haven't painted in so long. Mm-hmm. So it feels really good to come back to it. And I love working with typography. I used to be a graphic designer in my past life. Mm-hmm. So
you're very artistic, I see there. Beautiful.
Yeah. So because
you're breaking up a little bit.
The scenes work of how this gets developed. This says stay with me, don't play with me.
Yeah.
Or don't play with me, stay with me.
Beautiful.
It was just I hear like the coolest phrases while I walk down the streets, and so I'll either write them down or type them in my phone, and that was one of them that I heard on this particular street. So I thought the two would go hand in hand.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And does the basketball hoop mean something?
There's a basketball court on that street as well, and then it's this is like a weed smoking gesture for like a blunt.
Okay.
And so that had happened as well on that street corner. So just paying it's an homage.
Awesome. And what about the flowers and the butterflies on the other side?
This is just my day-to-day screen.
Okay.
I've been told by multiple people, you need to have a nice background for your videos. So, I use this thing called Amazon, and it seems like it's taken over the world. So I ordered it on there.
Cool. Okay, so beautiful introduction. And now how about you tell us what your passion is in life? Start with
Ooh.
the instrumental question and just let it flow.
Oh, okay. So I think in my life, everything is always intertwined. It's just one continuous story. And it has to do with a mixture of creativity and growth. So a lot of it is just, expanding to different mediums and different creative pursuits. I love writing, I love painting, I love designing clothes. And like each thing, I just learned something behind it, whether it's something historical. And I love writing, sharing, reading, and putting that out into the world and mixing it kind of with the development of myself immersed into it. I've worked diligently on myself for the longest time. It's like a never ending process. So just fusing those two worlds together and just sharing something and bringing comfort to people when I can.
And how does that make you feel?
Oh my gosh, it is the best feeling ever. I didn't like, you're introduced to this concept of like, oh, it's all about being of service to people. And it's like, yeah, I get it, whatever. But like, let me continue doing my selfish pursuit. But when you actually tap in to that one niche or that one thing, like it is just explosive. It is just the most heart centric felt energy. And like, it just brings me joy. And like, I don't have to do anything. I just get to be myself.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And so your personal branding is your support sister. How does that fit in that?
Good question. It's still a work in progress. So in October of 2020, I had a very severe meltdown, as we all have, and I got a coach, Jeff. Oh, we should have Jeff on here. That would be cool. Jeff Cloud. And he really helped me. And he was the one that also inspired Support Sister. And he was like, you need to go on and start making videos about your authenticity. And I thought he was crazy. I was like, old man, like I'm not going on there talking about myself. But like it just took off. And so it's just a space where I could vulnerably share and create a container for other people to make them feel less alone.
And how have you seen that works out? How do you get feedback on that? What shows up to drive you?
I get loving responses all the time, and just like I will get just like dots placed in for me to like learn things that I didn't know and like trade information, vice versa. It's just like an influx of messages, and I was never a community person. Like I was very lone wolf before this happened. Like the idea of getting on Facebook was the least thing on my mind. Like I would have, if you told me I was going to go on Facebook, I would have laughed at you. But I got on there after my sessions with Jeff, and I forgot what the question was. I'm talking.
No worries.
But
So you covered most of it, but how do you find vulnerability opens people?
Because I think we're taught that we have to be perfect, happy all the time, and flawless. And that is just not the human experience whatsoever. It's supposed to be messy, it's supposed to be chaotic. And those are just words as well. But I think it's like, sharing something intimate about you that you had shame perhaps or judgment. It opens you up, and it leaves you like just open to whatever. And the funny thing is that when you open yourself up, like people don't attack you like you would think they would. They actually relate to you more and connect to you more, and they're like, oh wow, like I didn't think about that, like maybe I have something like that too. And I could see that as a superpower instead of my downfall.
You find it's kind of like a mirror. They're seeing a mirror of themselves in you, and you've
Yeah.
just said it without them having to say it, and
Yeah.
magic happens.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's just like these weird dots that'll connect and spark something.
Mhm. So explain maybe the dots a little bit more from your perspective, because that's a term that not everybody uses.
I don't even know what it means either. I just feel like when you learn something or someone teaches you something or vice versa, like it fills in these gaps, and it's not just me, like, because we're all just one, right? And we're all these like little missing, like, for instance, you and I connected, and I had this gap, and you just said some stuff and it just activated it for me, and it just cleared something for me, and I could continue on and do the same thing. So it's just like bridging these gaps, I feel like, and
Mhm.
just like less separate and putting it more into a whole, if that makes sense.
So have you ever used the terms activations or downloads? How would you kind of connect those words to what you just talked about?
I think those are all synonymous, for sure. I get downloads when I smoke weed.
Cool. Got to open the door somehow, right?
Yeah, but no, activations is another way of putting it. Yeah.
That the way I like to look at it is it's almost we have a gift for everyone, and the more vulnerable and the more just allowing it to pass through ourselves. We talked about the hollow bone, being a person that just like I just walk around as a hollow bone for some people, and words will come out of my mouth and stuff that'll just like awestruck people or just slap them in the face sometimes, not to hurt them, but just to be the catalyst and to be literally it's their higher self that's asking me to do something that's completely out of my comfort zone that will make this magical difference in a person's life. And there's absolutely no ego in it, because sometimes they'll scream and yell at you and like freak out, and other times they'll just be like awestruck and very grateful. But that's exactly what people are looking for. Sometimes they need that. I like to think of myself as a catalyst. I would name you as a catalyst, Patrick as well, where we just allow ourselves to be more than just ourselves and that part of God, and then allow the highest good of people to just come through us.
Yeah, yeah, you gotta get some triggers going in order to get to the other side of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Have you ever had the experience where you triggered the shit out of someone and you felt bad for it for months, and then afterwards you kind of realized that that was exactly what needed to happen?
I think I did that with my last boyfriend. The way it ended, it was a tower moment for both of us and so unexpected, but my higher self needed me to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt like it served its purpose for him, because he was kind of more on the sleep side.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't spoken to him since the incident, but I feel like I needed to be that catalyst for him to get that rude awakening. And I felt bad. I felt terrible.
Well, so did you stand in your power, or what facet kind of forced him to be something? We don't need to know the details, but what was the crowning moment for you? And then by you standing in your power, I don't know what it was, so I'm not going to add anything to it, but do you want to share that?
Yeah. It was, so this was like back in September when this happened. And I just felt like we were all gearing to this greater evolution, and I needed to be in hermit mode. And I could see that this in the long run wasn't going to serve me. And I could see, I love the potential of it. I love the fantasy of it, but I had to just surrender to my soul and my higher self and just stand in my power. Like, I don't know what woman in her right mind who has like the guy that's perfect on paper, like walk away from him. That was me.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to do it and stand in my power because in a sense, I was deluding myself because it wasn't serving my soul.
And if you had stayed, now you can see it, what would have happened?
I think I would have still been in some sort of suffering for my soul. I think I wouldn't have been here. I don't think, or maybe it would have been delayed, because right after that is when I started working with Jeff and building up the support sister idea and doing the videos. So it was just at the moment where I was deciding or choosing, I like to use the word choosing to do, when I was choosing what to do, I just saw like this split, like this crossroads happening. And I felt like if I didn't choose this higher but more painful, shaky path, that I would be doing a disservice not only to me, but to like this unforeseen community.
And would you call that the one of the biggest acts of self-love you made for yourself?
One of them for sure. Yeah, where you had to just walk away and choose yourself. And I could see that I was abandoning myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I can't do that anymore. I've seen what happens.
Mm-hmm.
I've played this scenario so many times. Like, I need to choose myself. And yeah.
Now, if it doesn't make you feel uncomfortable, do you want to talk about some of the societal stories and other things that you had to walk through to really make that choice and then stand in it afterwards?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it feels good when you are playing by the status quo of society. It's like, I have a boyfriend. I love this title. Like, oh, me and my boyfriend, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just so ingrained in you. Like you see it on Instagram or entertainment, music, whatever. And there's this thing where if you are single, then there is something wrong with you, right? That notion that gets delivered. And it doesn't matter, as long as you have someone, you're fine. It could be the most dysfunctional relationship, but at least you're not single. So it was defying that, and it was defying, I had told my parents about this and my family members, like my cousin and my sister, and then them seeing me go through this choice, they were just like, why'd you do that? And like, even if I had explained it, like they were still like, you're weird, like there's nothing wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And there was just a lot of expectations that I realized looking back at it, where for as a woman in that kind of a 3D relationship, for some reason it was ingrained in me that I had to give away all my power, and my sexuality belonged to him. I gave it to him. I gave him the keys to the kingdom. He didn't even ask. I just gave it. And I wanted to prove to be loyal to him. I thought that was what a good girlfriend would do, just to be loyal and to give the keys. You can have everything. And it's so funny because like the more you give just away your power, the more you lose yourself. And it's just this weird codependent flux that happens. And that's what happened. And that's how the general 3D relationship mantra goes.
Mm-hmm.
So
And at the end of that process of breaking those things down in you, did you feel more empowered, or what was the after effects?
my higher self did, but my human self, yes, it did, but not without the tears and the depression that followed and the obsession that I had to shed. So, but I had a therapist at the time, and when I told her what happened, she's like, your eyes seem lighter. So it's just like things like that kind of like, okay, I'm not crazy. I made the right choice.
And do you think you'd make a different choice when new guys show up and more want for yourself first
I
because of
have
that?
to.
Mm-hmm.
I have to. Otherwise I'm just going to repeat the same mistake or
Mm-hmm.
lesson, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I can totally feel like other people that could be in my situation where first of all, I'm a Leo. So I don't know if you know anything about Leos, but Leos are in love with love.
Mm-hmm.
But it's nice to have that counterpart,
Mm-hmm.
but it has to be someone that's also doing the work. I don't care if you're wounded, as long as you're working through those wounds and there's a bigger emotional discussion that can be had. you know.
Because honestly, I think that's what relationship is all about, is speeding and speeding through the spiritual awakening and having this mirror that's always on, and it
Yes.
just like shines on you like a microscope. And if you just go with the status quo, or let it just be like it's supposed to be or whatever, you're really not doing the work. And then resentment builds up and everybody just falls apart over time.
Yeah, yeah. And like there's just always this, it's interesting dating when you're like on this spiritual ascension and like the people around you aren't. It's just like, what do I talk about? Like I can talk about the Lakers
Uh-huh.
for a little bit. I could talk about these
The
things,
hollow stuff.
trivial pursuits for a duration. I love it. I love learning about people, but sooner or later, the higher self in me will get antsy, and I'll be like, "All right, so what do you think about these aliens, guys?" Like, or something.
So you're longing for depth, right? And vulnerability and awareness and all
Yeah,
those kind of things.
yeah,
So do you think you'd ask a different kind of guy into your life after that last experience?
absolutely. I make soulmate lists, and I constantly refine it.
Cool.
Yeah. So I made sure to put spiritual as fuck as like
Cool. Critical, right?
Yeah. It's crazy how it really is, because it's like someone, it's such a small fraction when if you like perceive it that way, but it's like it plays such a huge role the more you go down this rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
So you're choosing you each and every time, and you got to see with clarity stuff that you didn't think mattered or was just in your story because other people said it was your story, or the few times you dated before that, that's what created it. But you also got to step back from it and have it and be able to have the choice of not having it, and now separating your choice from the societal choice. Like that's massive, right? In a
yeah,
very short period of time. That was what, 5 months ago, 6 months ago?
yeah.
So cool. And you're smiling for it and there's no tears.
No,
Now you have that option to choose when it's not working out and be clear about it, right?
yeah, that's true. I think for me, it's like a part of my story was always facing rejection. And so I would have that play out. And then at the same time, I would be rejecting myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but then to have, right? And then, but to have this weird thing happen where I was like, oh, the guy that I likes me. And I'm worthy of this. Like, but then still to have, to deal with the grips of experiencing that rejection, but then finally not rejecting yourself just because you didn't get,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Pretty mangled up stuff. Where does that
Yeah.
come from? The whole world does it to us, right? And yeah, I don't know. If you understand archetypes, I have the masochist archetype, so I'm always beating myself up and I'm not worthy and all that kind of stuff. It sounds like maybe you have the same thing.
Yes.
And that just keeps us in that state of feeling safe that we really understand everything, but really we're completely fucked up and we have no idea what's really going on. We just keep propagating the wound or whatever you want to call it over and over and over again just to prove it's happening when it's really not happening anymore. There's dark and light to the masochist, and being thorough and aware and discerning and all this kind of stuff can be light side, but the dark side, beating the shit out of yourself and no respect and no value and no self-worth. So
Yep. Very much relatable.
and other people have different ones. There's psychopaths where people like they literally don't trust anybody and you can see it in their bodies and that kind of thing. I've been asking a lot of questions.
Every girl I ever went out with had problems, and I always wanted to try and help her fix her. I
The
always went for the
fixer.
lost causes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was my archetype in all my relationships. There was always something wrong with them that I felt like, oh, if I love them enough, or if I do this enough, I'm going to be able to help fix them. I'm going to have to help fix them. It's not, and it's echoing out myself because I don't have enough self-worth to be with somebody that doesn't have all these issues, because that's an issue that I need to heal and fix on myself, right? So instead of trying to do it without, again, it's always coming back and going within and trying to deal with it on your own.
So is that yourself a symptom of one of your first female figures in your life that you can go back to, and you were trying to fix that person, and then it showed up in every interrelation with a woman afterwards. At least that was mine. I don't know if it's the same for you, Patrick, or not, but question mark.
That's something I would have to think about. I never had, my relationship with my mom was, it was unique. We grew up poor, and she was kind of constantly always working. She always did whatever she could possibly to keep us in a decent relationship, but she never, I guess what I picked up from her was that she always put other people first, and that's what I always did too. She would always put her kids first, or what her husband wanted, or whatever, instead of putting herself first. And used to do the same thing all the time. I would never put myself first in a relationship because I never felt I was worthy enough, right? So.
Mm-hmm. And in order of your sisters, who's the oldest to the youngest?
Well, I'm the oldest of my family, and then I have a middle sister who's 2 years younger than me, and then my youngest sister is 5 years younger than me.
So there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes with it. I was the oldest. You always take responsibility. You grow up fast. You're trying to help mom fill in those roles, and it just creates this like tidal wave of you being something that you didn't really have a choice in because that was what is expected. At least in my experience, it may be the same for you.
Well, it helped me. I grew up kind of really broken because I grew up in a house of all women, so I had a lot more feminine energy before I started to awaken. I didn't finally gain a dominant masculine side until I went through my awakening process. So I was always constantly people pleasing and worrying about other people, and just shy and staying in the background and letting things go however they went, and stereotypical qualities of that type of energy when it's not balanced, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
I'd say you have 3 feminine role models that you were forced to try and interact with in some way from the moment your sisters were born, and as well as your mother, and it all just kind of built up, right?
And then the one male father figure that I got attached to, because my own father, him and I were constantly fighting. We were both more alike than we would admit. We both had anger issues. He was constantly angry all the time, and I mean, like the last time he was alive, he died when I was in grade 12. The last time we were alive, he was alive, we had a huge fight, and then 4 days later, I got a call, "Hey, your dad's dead." Like,
yikes!
That was horrible. I beat myself up over that for years, but you have to. That was just our relationship, right? And my other male role model was my stepdad. He was with my mom. He was very toxic, and I mean, I even adopted my body model off of him because he was always at the bar drinking, and he had the traditional beer belly, and I let myself go. By the time I was 25 years old, I was over 300 pounds with a 46-inch waist. Like it was I lost over 120 pounds to get down to the size I'm at now. It's crazy. But that was because he was my role model, so I didn't even think about it. I just unconsciously would emulate it, right? So
and I have talked about this before, where a lot of times as men, it's safe to hide in our feminine, especially when there's a lot of feminine around us, or we're trying to attract a woman into our life, or those kind of things. We just become that feminine energy that's safe to other women and talk about our emotions and all this kind of stuff, be less aggressive and those kind of things. And we just kind of settle into the woodwork or the wallpaper or whatever, just being not shaking things up and those kind of things, which is a protection mechanism for us. But I'd assume I was a little more balanced family. It was like 3 boys and 2 girls. Yeah, sometimes you just have to kind of fade into the woodwork and just be the status quo. And then that goes into your adult life afterwards because you were doing it as a kid. I don't know. Does that resonate or?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that for sure.
Cool.
It's it takes a lot more courage to be able to actually stand up and take a stand and to say no. Like it took me years to be able to learn to say no. It was a lot easier just to go along with it, whether I liked it or not, and just do it. To be able to actually stand up, have your healthy boundary and say, no, I don't want to do this, and follow on through it, takes a lot of strength and courage that didn't develop until I started going through my ascension to finally become a balanced individual.
Exactly. Cool. Do you have a question for Anya? I've been talking a lot here. You're welcome to ask one if you have one.
No.
Okay.
I haven't had nothing popped up yet. I do want to hear about your ayahuasca experience, though. If
Okay.
you want to talk about
There we
that.
go.
Yeah, sure. Oh God. Okay, so this was actually on my bucket list, and so I'm glad I got to cross that off. I think you guys might be familiar with my friend Nafis. He's a medicine man. I did an interview with him before. Cool black dude. I met him. I got to preface the story, but I met him at a concert. It was the last concert that I went to right before the shutdown. It was on February 14th last year, 2020.
Mhm.
And we just met. He's also Starseed light worker and a medicine man. And I have not seen him in person since that day. But he got stuck in Peru, and he just became like he was my first light worker friend, official, and we just always stayed in touch. We still stay in touch. And he was like, I was going back to New York to close out my apartment, and he was like, do you want to do ayahuasca while you're there? Like, I know a guy. I was like, all right. And at this time I was in a relationship with that last person that I had mentioned, and everything in my life was falling apart. I was losing the job, I was losing the apartment, and the relationship slowly started to follow that path. But it was the same day I closed my apartment and moved everything off from it, and I was staying at my ex-boyfriend's house at the time. And he was very worried about me doing ayahuasca. He was like, I just don't want you to change. And I was like, well, that's the point. What's the worst that could happen?
Mhm.
And with ayahuasca, you 3 days before and 3 days after, you should not. There's like a dieta where you don't consume pork, you don't have sex, and you don't drink alcohol. Like those are the three main ones. I'm sure there's more, but those are the ones that the shaman that administered it to me said.
Mhm.
And he was like, be there at like 9 p.m. And it was like this weird gritty part of Brooklyn, and it's a place called Bushwick. And so I'm like, all right, I'll be there. And it was an even amount of, the girls were on one side of his living room and the guys were on another side, and we all had our own little chairs. And he brought these buckets for you for purging. And it was a dark vibe. And he opened the ceremony by singing Icaros. I think they're called Icaros. And he blows smoke, and he like does this like opening ceremony, and then you have like this little shot glass of ayahuasca that you take. And the whole time he is playing music. He has like drums and these different types of instruments, so he's singing the whole entire time. And there's like someone else in that was helping sing, like, so there's this whole tribal thing going on the entire time. And I was so anxious. I was like, all right, like, come on, I want to feel it. But then like an hour later it finally kicks in, and it just like grabs me by the wrist. I thought I died. I was convinced that I was walking down the street on my way to this ceremony house, that I got hit by a car, and this was my funeral that was happening. And the only thing I could think about is, what am I going to tell my parents? I was like, their daughter just died in Brooklyn. And I was so scared. And I just felt like ayahuasca just took me by the wrist. I was dead, and I was outside of my body in this weird space where I think we all go. I don't know, maybe it's like when you meditate or have a other body experience.
Astrals or something, yeah.
I was somewhere there. I was not in my body, but I was convinced I was dead, and I was at my funeral. And the first messages I got were related to my family and like just the feeling of them and the importance of them. And so I got messages about that. And then the medicine was like, you have to leave your job too, like officially, so go do that. And like it, like I could, have you seen the movie The Void? It was like I think it was like a
No,
Japanese
no,
film.
heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I felt like I was that, like where I could just like look from above and like I could just recount these scenarios and just like have like hindsight 2020 and like just this clear vision of what to do. And so that was happening with my job. And it was like, you have to give the laptop back. So they gave me a laptop and like just breaking it down for me. And like, I came with the intention of what should my life purpose be? Like, what should I do in the world? It was none of that. And my friend Nafis, who was the one that introduced this to me, he was taking it at the same time as I was while he was in Peru. So I met up with him in some astral plane and we were hanging out. And
Wow.
he had it had taken me a while to connect to him. And as the drums were beating and the Icaros were playing, like I was like, oh shit, like I'm connecting to him. I'm doing it. And then like the facilitator, he called me, I was like, Anya, I see you're connecting with Nafis. Like I see it, it's happening. And he called me out. I'm like, why did you just do that? Like I'm already going crazy. And so I felt like Nafis was like this God aspect. I felt like I was meeting God. And like it was just a channel through Nafis. And it's like he had taken me throughout my whole body and like had shown me things. And I was very confused and in denial still about the relationship that I was in. And I straight up was like, I am dating the devil. And I was so convinced. And it felt like the situation I was in was I had to make a choice between serving God or continuing serving the devil. And like it just kept giving me these flashes of these instances that would happen, like these flashbacks of like certain scenarios or situations, because my ex-boyfriend had walked me to the place and like he would just say these weird things and like they just kept flashing and like it would just be a picture of the devil, but then it would be like Nafis and God and like him like telling me like you have to meditate and like all of these flowery things. It felt like I was on this field of this godly field and like just taking me through so many truths. And like I felt like I was repenting. I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. All I could do was like pray. And I had a blanket covered on me. And there's like other people. And I'm trying to be mindful of them, but like still like going crazy. And I'm just like, I thought I was dead and I was just digging my own grave and like the blanket was just covering me. And I was like, all right, I'm just gonna be in this grave. And like the guy next to me, like I kept hearing him sing and it sounded like he was saying die, 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 die. And I was like, these motherfuckers are planning my death right now. And I was so paranoid.
Mm-hmm.
But I purged a little bit, not too much. And like you could it's like a mushroom trip if you've taken like those kinds of psychedelics where you could see like patterns and like shapes and stuff, but it knocks you and slaps you down. Like I was under its grips for like at least 4 hours. I got there like at 9 p.m. I didn't get back till 7 in the morning. That like my body just couldn't
Wow.
handle it. Like I was just laying there and just processing what happened. And the medicine was like pretty much like, yeah, your boyfriend's the devil. You just gotta get out of that relationship. But I was staying with him and I didn't have anywhere to go. And I was like, I don't know how I'm supposed to go back to this devil's house. Like, and like it was his birthday party the next day or the same day. And I was just trying not to think about that. But there was just like so many messages about like the choices that I was making in life and just how to like choose God, choose meditation. And that's all that's all I needed to focus on was just to choose God, choose meditation. And like Nafis and I were hanging out and he was just the one that was guiding me. And like, I felt like I was sitting on on a chair and I was just watching the screen of my life. And in a portion of it, I was like, I haven't done enough. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. Because I thought I was dying. I was like, I don't want to die. I don't want to die. I want to live. I want to live. I want to live. I want to do something. Like I haven't, like I saw a replay of my life, like how I've been living. And I was like, I need to be here on earth. Like I need to still live out this legacy that I haven't fulfilled. Like I need to be here. And it was like such a sense and an urgency and an appreciation to be alive.
A question to go along with that. How much of that proved to be true when you got to look at it afterwards?
All of it was true. All of it.
Well, yeah, because you saw everything as the pure energy without all the physical illusions that we see while we're in these bodies, right? So
Yeah,
you saw the
yeah.
truth of it all.
Yeah, I was like able to step out of the ego. I was able to step out of the programs, and like coming back, I to my body, I was like, oh fuck, we're in a pandemic. Like, god damn it. Like,
And it only got worse from there, right?
Yeah, 1 year later, we're still in it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought about the fact that it's been 1 full year and people are now wearing 2 masks. Nothing else has been done, but people
And
are
anal swabs, don't forget
and
about
anal
that.
swabs, of course. Of course. Yeah. It's nuts, but
It's crazy.
I still process this story to this day of the experience, the ceremony, and I get flashbacks from time to time, but this is the best I could.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. It
relate.
sounded like you had a very transcendent experience, and
Oh my
it
God,
does
yeah.
what everything I've read about it. It totally changed your life and gave you an outside perspective and help you shift into a new direction. So that's amazing.
Yeah,
That's why I think everybody should do that at least once. So it's on my
some
bucket list
sort of
too.
psychedelic, some sort of psychedelic. It doesn't have
Mhm.
to be ayahuasca because ayahuasca was intense.
Ayahuasca's the motherfucker. She'll slap you and tell you.
Right at the
Mushrooms
top
kind
of
of
the
goes and holds you
psychedelic
by the
list for
hand and
sure.
dances around.
Mm-hmm.
Ayahuasca's like, sit down. You're gonna learn this right now.
Yeah, like she just grabs you by the wrist, and you don't think you have a choice. You're just like, okay, it's just like a movie screen, and you're just like watching it, and you can't change the channel because you're just so transfixed by it.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
it's like you understood what it was to be human and to be alive. Like it just like I just like understood it at the time. Like I don't remember it now. Like maybe it's like ingrained in me, but like I had a sense of understanding it. Like I was like, oh, okay, this all makes sense. You know, like when you get those like clarity moments and you're like, don't forget it, but then you forget it later.
You weave in.
Yeah, it's hard. Well, especially when the vibration in your body is so much different than the vibration of your higher self. It's harder to hold on to that information.
Yeah.
So, but the more we're raising it, that's why we're able to remember a lot more stuff in dream time or random thoughts that occur from our higher self or things that when you're stoned, when you open that higher dimensional doorway, and you can hold on to those thoughts when you come through that because our vibrations are getting a lot more in sync and closer.
Have you done ayahuasca, Paul?
No, it's on my bucket list. I want to do it. That's why I
Patrick?
wanted to find out about your experience.
Well, I've done it twice. The place that I did it with, they insisted they wanted you to actually do it 3 times in a row, like night after night. It was a lot of money and I couldn't afford. I think it was $250 a time or whatever. So I agreed to it. The first night was beautiful and amazing. I don't know if we're frozen on Facebook or not, but and I should have been recording this, but on my computer it's frozen. I don't know what's going on here, but yeah, I went into the experience. The first night was just like orgasmic. It was just all this energy and feeling good and all this kind of stuff. They had something called Shipibo chants. But I could feel it going into my DNA. It was like, and you can feel stuff going on inside your body and you don't know what's going on. And everybody's having experiences around. So the first night was kind of easy. The second night I came, I don't know if you know what rapé is, but it's this like sacred snuff that you put up your nose and it's really grounding. And there's a lady there that had rapé before. It's not psychedelic at all, but it just pulls you into your body. So she gave me some rapé because I wanted to be really grounded. Mm-hmm. And I was just like in a cold sweat for the next half an hour afterwards. So I was really grounded. And then I went up and he did about 1.5 of a pour from the first time. And I sat there for 2 hours, not a thing. I was stone cold right there. And then he gave me even more in the second one. And like not more than about 1.5 minutes after I went and laid back down in my little nest, it hit. It was just like, I don't know if you ever seen Close Encounters of the Third Kind, like spaceships going over with neon purple and it's just like, and I'm just feeling it. I'm like, holy fuck, I got 9 hours of this ahead of me.
Oh, wow.
And very rapidly, I got so anxious, I didn't think I could breathe. And I'm like, help me, put my hand up. And somebody came over and said, just focus on it and held my hand and all this kind of stuff. And somewhere in all that, it was just like my chest was being crushed. And somewhere in that, I figured out I accept, I allow. And it was the only thing that would take the pressure off my chest. because it was just like suffocating. I now learned that was my biggest lesson in surrender in my life, because it was like everything of the collective was crashing over me, and I was getting these energy healings, and I could hear their breath getting bigger and harder and faster as I'm feeling this. So I'm like, holy fuck, this isn't just me, this is real. And it kept going. I thought I was in the 7th level of hell at points, but I just kept saying, I accept, I allow, I accept, I allow, and everything was scary and dark. And then the purging comes, and you're just like projectile vomiting into your bucket, and it's trying to come out the other end, and there's one bathroom for like 30 people. So it's just like, I'll be wearing a diaper next time.
You guys will all do it together in Costa Rica.
Exactly.
Yes.
But I got to the end, and I thought I'd just been cursed or something, and I was just out of it. And it took me a couple days. And with the energies that was about 2 years ago, and with the energies that have been going, it's saved me more times than I can even imagine. Sometimes when the collective energy just gets so strong, I just go back to that I accept, I allow, and I just let it fall through me. And that surrender is the biggest gift that we can teach anybody out of all of this kind of stuff, is just breathe and just feel and get back in your body and trust that it's just passing, and it's just old stuff that's coming through you. Because I have to use it 3 times a week, and we're talking about, we're going into this truth phase. And I don't know if you watched that Lori Ladd one, Patrick, about the energy update or galactic update. She says, this is just grounding us for even more and stronger and stuff. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we're going through it, and we're going to be the grounding influence, because we've learned the tools and mechanism. And when everybody else is going sideways, we're going to be able to grab them by the shirt collar and say, hold on, take a breath, sit down, here we go. And then you're going to be able to like lay your hand on their chest, or just even say words, and they're just going to calm right down, and everything's going to go. But we had to go through this training of shit that just set us on our side. When COVID first started, I don't think it was COVID. I think around February 14th, like you were talking about, I woke up in the middle of the night, and it was like my energetic shelf had just been shattered. Like somebody took a sword and cut me right across this part of my body. And I was shattered. I was just laying there all by myself, nobody in the house, nobody in the room. I didn't know to call the ambulance or what. All I could do is concentrate on breathing and accepting and allowing. And it was like 3 days before I pulled myself back together enough that I wasn't terrified, because I was sure I was going to die in that instant. Not because I want to die or whatever energy was attacking me and wanted to stop me. I survived it, and I'm way stronger for it. But who teaches you that? Who do you have a shaman or a friend? Or I got in an Epsom salt bath, and that was another thing that was a tool that saved me. And I know it can never happen again. Once you step out of the darkness being influenced and believing, you get to the point where you are as much darkness as you are light, and you can command them just as much as you can command the light. And I just won't stand for it anymore. Before it was like, oh, I'm a little over here. Now it's like, no fucking way. If you're going to deal with me this way, you can go take a hike, because the darkness just wants you to be in alignment with it, so it feels better about itself. And really, it's all going to be turned into light eventually, whether they like it or not, at least on this earth plane and in my world. So anyways, like, I covered a lot of ground, but it's been interesting times being a light worker and starting to really ground that so that I can show that to others.
Yeah.
Right, being part of that pioneering crew, and we the initial wave, we get to be the guinea pigs and do everything first. It's keeps things interesting.
And it's not a lot of money flowing in and getting rewards all every day. It's like,
for sure a thankless job.
Face first the wall 3 times a day, and you're bleeding, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna be okay tomorrow. Let's start again, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then you get up tomorrow, and within 2 hours of your day, you're on your couch exhausted because the energies are kicking your ass, and you have no energy to do anything. Like,
especially
crazy.
Now. Yep. It's every day now, wouldn't you say, Patrick or Anya?
Oh, the energies are ramping up tremendously, and that says a lot. Like, if they're getting more and more intense, it's leading up to something. Like, something's coming, and it's going to be awesome. And that's why we're getting prepared for it, to be able to handle all these intense energies that keep coming in stronger and stronger, right? For us to be able to handle whatever's coming down the road. Because if something big down the road's coming, if it comes without our, it's just gonna, it's gonna be wasted energy. Our body won't absorb it, right? So
There's a good question, Anya. What do you foresee in your heart of hearts of where the world's going from here?
I saw the Lori thing too, and I kind of wish I didn't because I feel like it plants like paranoia seeds in me. But
those are only your attachments to what's going on, though,
Well,
right? That
less
tells you
of
that you're
how
still
it's gonna,
attached to the show.
less of how it's gonna go and where it's gonna lead, because that's
oh,
the theme of life.
I think where it's gonna lead, it's gonna be like a completely new paradigm of just like, I don't know. That's a good question. The way I envision it, I just call it the new golden era, where there's just like not a 9 to 5 job thing going on, that there's going to be an income distribution where people are going to be free to do what they want to fucking do. And I see like maybe even way down the line, but like mystery schools becoming a thing again, you know?
What gives you the energy to wake up every morning after dealing with the hardships and the breakups and the ayahuasca showing you the truth? What wakes you up every day, and what drives you?
I've been doing this new routine where from Monday to Friday, I wake up at 6 in the morning, and just like these new energies that I'm feeling that I haven't felt in a very long time, that I would just get like sneak peeks of, like maybe like when you like the feeling of traveling to a foreign land or something. Like I feel that now and I'm here. And so it's just like this feeling of just being in the present moment and feeling who I am, who like myself in this body, like just feeling my body like that. I guess that's just exciting. And just like this community, this like building that's going on, like that's exciting as well. Because for so long I was like on an island, and so like being able to connect with like-minded beings, like that helps the inspiration, and like waking up, getting out every day as well.
When you're yourself, because we all have that memory of what life was like when we were all living under the illusions and being what the world or family or friends told us that we were supposed to be. So it's completely freeing just to get up and just be our true selves and not have any of the hang-ups that you can see many of the other people that are still doing what they're expected of, right?
Yeah.
What society tells them. So
I stopped shaming myself for not having a 9 to 5 job. I'm just like, fuck it. Like whatever. Like I'm not gonna for so long I was guilty of attaching my self-worth to having a job, to having an income, to like being a member of society. And like that's also comes from like a long lineage of Russian immigrants and Mother Russia, hard work. And so like having that distilled in you also, and like having to confront that. And you know, I'm sure I look like a fucking weirdo and a loser to people in my family. Oh, look at that girl, she's not doing anything with her life, she's just making fucking street signs. But
I know exactly what you're talking about, because I had the same thing. My dad was very successful in business. He instilled in me the attitude, grind it till you make it, and you're out there always trying to do the things. And so I did that for the longest time, and I got lucky. I became a truck driver. I got a high-paying, secure union job doing delivery work for Coca-Cola. Who in their right mind would ever leave a job like that? But about a year and a half ago, I was guided to, okay, you know what? If you want to continue your spiritual development, you have to quit and walk away from that life. And that was the hardest thing to do, because I was totally happy there. I had settled all my demons there. I went through, oh, I hate it because it's corporate slavery. And then I conquered that world to the point where I went in every day. I was happy. I loved it. It was easy. It was familiar. But that was it. There was no more development if I stayed there, right?
Yep.
So going off and being an unemployed bum now for the last year and a half, right? Well, everybody else is doing what they're doing.
Working from home.
It takes time to deprogram yourself from that world, right?
Exactly. That's exactly what's been happening. And like I'm convinced like there is a treasure that is waiting on the other side.
That's it. That's what keeps me going every day. That knowing that I can feel the light at the end of the tunnel. It's getting brighter every day. So,
Yes.
question mark, is this a harder job than those other jobs that you had? Because now it's dealing with unknowns and stuff that shows up out of the blue, and you really got to be grounded, and you really got to take care of yourself, and you really
It
got to
is.
love yourself. Isn't that?
It's definitely harder, but way more enjoyable because I'm living my passion and living my life, and I'm living through my heart, and I'm doing things I love. So it's way harder, but it's totally worth it and way more fulfilling.
It's like one of those things. It's like my connection is unstable. It's either like the pain of growing or the pain of stagnating. Like you're gonna have to pick one. And like the 9 to 5, it was, oh my God, it was so soul crushing. My soul was just like, help. But like I think that's tougher to continue doing that personally.
Because you didn't think you had a choice, and money was this thing that had you by the throat saying you got to pay for your apartment and your whatever and whatever. And once that all goes away, and that's what I foresee coming, is that's going to change, right? You get income for just being you, and it's not like paying the tax. And I made 6 figures. I worked for a company called Nortel, Northern Telecom, and it went bankrupt out from under me. But every time I actually made less money a lot of times when I got a promotion or a raise. And that was how the system was designed. It's like I'm making $160,000 a year, which was a really amazing job. I was development manager and all that kind of shit. I was just working harder, more hours, got less time with my kids, all this kind of stuff. And after a while, they went bankrupt out from under me. So it just, the universe kind of slopped me on the floor and said, this great job with a pension and all this kind of stuff. All that security disappeared in that instant. And that can happen to any of us. It's crazy. None of the security and none of the stuff was going. So now we're like serving us, and we're making sure those things, and we get to choose our artistic side or our expressive side or our whatever. And now we don't have to feel guilty about it. And it's like, oh, I do that. I would never think of doing that before, right? Yeah. And now we're getting to. So
so fun fact, I like to read about history, even if it's through Wikipedia. And I was reading about the Renaissance, and in the 13th century, let me pull up my laptop so I don't butcher this information. But pretty much it was talking about the events that developed from the end of the Middle Ages to the Renaissance. And even at that, I took a screenshot, but I don't think I can, hold on. Give me a second. You guys, oh no, there we go. Between the, I can't find it. Between the end of the Middle Ages to the Renaissance, there was like a big upheaval happening where there was food shortage, people were dying, the population was dying off, and the Black Plague was happening. Funny thing about the Black Plague is the rats came from China.
Wow, that sounds like something that's going on nowadays. What a coincidence.
Right? Because last year we were in the year of the rat.
Okay.
Interesting.
So I was connecting these dots.
So you're feeling that a renaissance is coming, and we're passing through that upheaval period.
Yes, I totally believe that. But I mean, we are experiencing the bubonic plague and whatever is going to be thrown to clear out the.
Right, now they're just calling it CV-19, right? So.
Yeah. Same shit, different smell.
So what do you see a renaissance as being, just to give a definition for people that maybe don't know the term?
I see it as just a reemergence of the human spirit. I feel like for so long we've just been automatized, industrialization. It's all about like mechanical, and like we've just, our bodies, our human spirit just completely shut down. Like, look at us, like we are addicted to our phones scrolling. Like, I feel like it's going to be a resurgence of art, like real culture coming back, whether it's through poetry or acting, whatever.
And if you don't have to go to a job for 40 hours a week and chase the kids and chase having a boyfriend and a house and a car and all that kind of stuff, you're going to have a lot more time to focus on yourself and figure out what's in your heart.
And like I think it's going to be like more sciences, more technology development that's actually good for society, like more of a utopia coming on.
Well, if we look deep in some of the truther stuff, there's a lot of suppressed technologies, right? Like power grids don't need to have to happen anymore. There's like these plexiglass things, and you just set them up in your basement, and your whole house is powered, and you don't have to power anybody, your fossil fuels and med beds, and you can instantly be healed of most diseases.
Yeah.
And if you don't have all this stuff pulling on you and put all these chemicals in your body that are screwing you up, like you get to be an older person and they're chasing you that you got high blood pressure and high cholesterol and all these kind of pills, and you just follow and do it, and then you're numb and you don't even know what's going on. Or if you have a mental illness or whatever, they're filling you full of antidepressants. And how can you even find yourself inside that when all your senses are tuned down with a pill, right?
There was also a climate change
Okay.
happening in the
Renaissance?
in the Renaissance. It was a plague pandemic and a climate change correlation.
Oh, wow.
Well, interesting.
Done
connection.
those things and get to the Renaissance a little quicker, please.
Right. Can we talk about Bill Gates
Sure.
buying up all of the farmland?
Is he? Okay.
Yeah.
Tell us your truth.
I'll tell you my I don't know if it's a truth, but it's something a pattern that I'm picking up on. I think he's buying, if this is my theory, and I hope it's just a theory, but the way I see it is he's buying up all of this farmland, and I think it's to control the meat. I think he's pushing for artificial meat, like where it's like stem cell meat, because he has bought a bunch of stocks in whatever the Beyond Meat or whoever is like the. So I see that he's buying up all this shit, and he's just gonna like get rid of the cows, get rid of meat, livestock, and just like pretty much be in charge of the food supply chain and like push this meat cell agenda.
Have you read some of the stuff about what McDonald's did to the meat industry and the potato industry?
Mm-mm.
They came in and they demanded everything, and they made these collectives, and they forced everybody to buy through the collectives, and potatoes had to be of a certain exact seed potential and these little bits of eyes and all this kind of stuff. If you go really deep, there's a lot of farmers and stuff that price has been pushed down. They talk about how they're buying local and all this kind of stuff, but they're forced into this machine that dropped their price, gave them only one buyer, and basically screwed their ability to move around. Like wheat boards in Canada is huge. I live on the prairies, and everything's artificially suppressed so that they can make a bunch of money in the middle, and they control the price. So it doesn't surprise me. Almost every element of farming, livestock, all that kind of stuff, cows, I guess horses maybe less or whatever, but yeah, they're trying to attach to them and take our choice away.
Yeah.
I don't know what you guys see. I don't know what it's like in the US, but in Canada, massive store chains like Zellers disappearing. Sears died, which is Canada and US. Now they're talking the Hudson's Bay companies going bankrupt, all being destroyed by these Amazons and others. And there's really only going to be a couple names. There's going to be a Walmart, a Costco, and a Amazon to buy stuff. And it's, if we don't look at it and see it, and we just go by where the price is lowest, where they're literally undermining all there's tons of companies that have went bankrupt because Walmart did stuff to them. They like lowered their price or bought from another supplier at the last minute or whatever. And you bankrupt a company in an instant just because you got, okay, here's a $500,000 order. And if all of a sudden you don't deliver on time or something and they fall out of it, you got all this stock that you don't know what to do with, and you're screwed. This happens over and over and over again. So we're part of it because we're buying where it's cheapest and all this kind of stuff. But meanwhile, all those places are disappearing. And I don't know how it's going to turn. Go ahead.
Granted, the mom and pop shops had to close. So it's like you couldn't even go in there for such a long time. Yeah. So, and intentionally, I'm sure. And I'm just like, I was looking at that the other day and I was like, they literally closed all of the mom and pop shops. So you could only go onto Amazon and just for your convenience. I mean, you didn't have a choice.
They're taking.
You go to Walmart and then there's 50 people in one aisle, and then how's that safe?
Yeah, like, that's true.
Come on.
Yep. But they've taken out the middle class, all the small mom and pop shops, the restaurants. I'm an IT consultant. I do it for like 10 different companies, and they all closed up overnight of, I'm not going to do IT work or whatever. And I never even had a say in it. And my business didn't close, but the clients that were having it, they're all oil industry, and oil industry backed down. And every time they have a COVID case at a campsite or something, the whole business shuts down, and all this kind of stuff for 14 days because of
Gotta
this
step out
stuff.
for a sec.
Yep. It just keeps going in waves over and over and over again. And we're learning to change things, but I agree.
Yeah. Crazy.
So Bill Gates, Soros, look at all the stock markets, the gold and silver things. You look at silver right now, and it should be, there's a shortage everywhere, and the price, it won't move. Like, what the hell? That's not supply and demand. That's not any market we've agreed to. And GameStop things.
Oh
and,
my God, that was so fascinating.
Mhm.
That when that happened.
It's all coming, and we just need to look at it and see that something's broken in the system. Somebody's artificially playing the numbers. You can actually, if you look at some of these stock market guys on silver and stuff like that, you can actually see where they're artificially pulling the numbers down. Every time it takes a jump, you can see they buy something in the opposite direction that forces it down. But it's to the point that they're not investing real money anymore. They're just pulling a number and counteracting it in some weird way.
Yeah.
But in the background, there's no silver supply left. They're doing all these shorts and all these kind of things on stuff that doesn't even exist. So now it's all fake, and we're all getting attached to it. Like, I could care less what's going on. I just want to see truth show up. It's time.
It is time. I think you remember, like, leading up to the presidential victory announcement or whatever, like, there was that whole psyop or whatever it was going on of President Trump. He has the military, and they're going to perform a coup, and your internet might shut down for a few days, and the truth is going to be revealed, and Biden's going to go to jail, like all that shit. Like, like, I think none of it happened. And like, I feel like it was just gearing people up and like making, fanning the flame of like, all right, it's going down. But it's just like, none of it happened.
Well, the hardest part is stuff is happening. It's going on in the background, and the media won't talk about it. There's tons of executives. There's a resignations website, and there's people being fired all over the place and stepping down, but nobody will talk about it. Why is it? And they're hiding.
That's true. That is true. Why do you think that is?
Oh, I think there's so many companies that have sold out to China and other places quietly in the background, or to go against the Constitution of the United States or other countries. It's so in control. Once it was exposed, there was absolutely no choice that and if he had the evidence, which is apparently he all has, on every country in the world, he showed them, and they had no choice but to back down, because if it would have come out, they would have been destroyed, or there would have been huge scandals. And it's coming. It's just quietly happening in the background. Like, whole countries, governments are stepping down and having to be re-elected, and Myanmar and Russia's stepping out of banking, and all this kind of stuff. The more and more we look at it, it's not talked about, but there's really something going on. But nobody wants to bring the truth. And it's so crazy how much stuff is just taken off the internet automatically by systems and all this kind of stuff, when there's no public debate or discussion or awareness of any of it. And it just makes you wonder what the hell's going on, who's pulling the strings. So when Nortel went bankrupt, I got involved. These people phoned me, and the employees of Nortel had a claim of $247 million to get their severances paid out and then leave the company. When Nortel, it turned out into a bankruptcy that lasted 10 years, and they spent $3 million in lawyer fees, all disputing the pension fund, that 247 million of employee money. If they would have just paid it all out and not had the lawyers so deeply involved, they probably would have satisfied all of them. But instead, people are getting like 30 cents on the dollar. So I went and testified in Parliament a bunch of times about the plight of the worst people hurt were the pensioners. They were at like a $2,000 a month pension, and all of a sudden this happened, and overnight it turned into $1,000. How do you take half an income cut and do anything about it? So I went and spoke in front of Parliament that these people, instead of the companies that can write off all these things, the people that had the most should be treated first. And every MP I went to, mine and the NDP leader and stuff in Canada, which is like social credit, they all said the banks owned all the big parties because they give hundreds of millions of dollars to their election funds. And you're just looking at it and it's like, I can't do anything about it. I agree with you 100%. That's not the way government works anymore. And it's all about what our leader wants. And they're in bed with these other people. And you start seeing it. It's like insurance companies, banks, all these kind of things. They never lose a cent of money. And they got us by the balls every day. And they're saying, pay my fees and here's your debt and all these kind of things. And we don't, the world kind of slipped away and we didn't even see it happen. In all that stuff. The rules changed and they quietly lobbied in the background. And guess what? When there's a pandemic, we can lock you in your house and we can come and test you or lock you away if you want to travel or whatever. And we really don't have a choice in it anymore. And then you put a big couple of bullies with batons as a police or whatever, and they'll force you into the room and lock you away when we really didn't even choose that.
Look at the quarantine hotels that they have in Canada now. They've restricted all the air travel so that if you wherever you're coming in from, you're only going into 4 airports in Canada, and then you're getting a mandatory stay in a quarantine hotel that you have to pay for.
Oh my God.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, there's videos of it, and they're like, it's a Westin hotel or whatever, and there's guards on the outside.
Sheridan, because it's connected to the people that own it are Chinese.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. And it costs
Trudeau's
like $2,800 to stay in that, and you're forced to.
and people are accepting it. Like that's my problem with everything that's going on nowadays. People are accepting all these rights that are taken away, all these things that they're forcing on you. They're just, oh well, it's for the safety or it's for this. It's showing you the power of fear when all these people are letting it run their life. Mm-hmm. They'll just, okay, yep, okay, whatever. It's for my best. It's just I trust you. Because fear is so strong in so many people.
Mm-hmm. But there are ways.
Why something extreme is going to need to come, because everybody's in their mind that I've talked to, they're like, oh well, if it lasts longer than this, then I'll do something.
Yeah.
If it goes longer than this, then I'll do something.
Yeah.
But then when they get there, like, oh well, they always have more reasons, right? That's why something big has to happen finally. That's going to push everybody to the point where it's like, no, that's enough, because this slow thing, yeah, sure, it's helping people wake up. Mm-hmm. But look at the world; it's still insane.
1 year later.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. 1 year later, we're still here.
But this is the 60-year plan. It's been psychologically engineered to get all these laws in place and have all this leadership and basically shame and guilt people and make them feel scared and all this kind of stuff, to the point the police don't even have to enforce whether you're wearing a mask. It's the little old lady down the street that gives you the hard stare and calls you an idiot or whatever. You're endangering my life or whatever. It's not even police or other things. It's the fear now that's guiding everything. And I think our role, just because we dipped kind of dark here, but our role is to keep grounding the positive and smile. I wear a face shield now, and people look at me like I'm an angel, because it's like, holy shit, I saw your smile. And I wear a hat with the heart on the top of a white hat wherever I go, because I want to diffuse people and I want to get them into love before we get into the debate. And before, I used to not wear a mask, and then people would be doing scared ass shit. They'd be parking behind me in the parking lot so I couldn't get out because they wanted to punish me because I might have killed their wife because she walked by or whatever. Well, when you pull a 3-ton truck into reverse and you start backing up, they don't really have much choice at that point. But I don't want to have that kind of conflict. I want to have the smile. It's like, where'd you buy that? I want one like that. It's so nice to see a smile now, because you never know what people are doing, and it's like this. Are you smiling, or are you evil, or whatever, right? So
yeah, I just wrote a piece. I'm gonna do some shameless promo, but it talked about that. It was my experience with the first beginnings of the lockdown happening, like the transition. But like, I'll never forget sitting on a park bench and I was smiling at this woman, and she was running, and then we just caught eyes. We smiled genuinely. And she was like, oh, I realized you couldn't see my smile because I was wearing a mask. And I'll always remember that.
Cool. But your eyes exchanged something, obviously, and there was an inside knowing. My son just popped down, but he works with his mom at Kumon, which is like for little kids.
Mm-hmm.
And he said he noticed really hugely that whenever he's wearing his mask, he doesn't know whether the kid doesn't know whether they're in trouble or he's angry or whatever, because half the feedback isn't there. And he's mentioning this to parents, and the kids are getting hurt, I'd call it, by this not facial feedback and awareness. And if he could pop his mask down or wear a face shield, it would be a completely different, because it's like, oh, he's smiling at me. No, those eyes mean something else or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He also sees a lot of parents that are angry, and the kids are saying, I'm going to get spanked if I go home and I didn't finish my work or whatever. So there's a lot of stuff that's all just being pushed in that we don't know it's even there, right? So
I thought about two parts, like what are teenagers doing right now? Because I remember as a teenager, I would just be in a car getting fucked up, you know, like parked somewhere, like going to a house party or someone's house. But I was thinking about that, and I was like, what are teenagers doing now in a pandemic? Like, are they still doing the same thing?
It's all video games and Discord, and they're chatting all day long, playing on their computer.
Yep. Yeah.
I've got 3 teenagers, so I know.
Okay, you know the deal then. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, they can't go and get high with their friends because you're not even allowed in other cars. And
that sucks. Because I could just imagine like the arguments that would happen with mom and dad, like, you're going out, like you're not allowed to go out. That is unsafe right now, you know?
Yep. And you're going to bring the disease home and whatever. That's awful. Oh, have you been quarantined for a while? And are you safe to come to my mom's house? Or
yeah, you got to wear a mask. You could come over, but you have to wear your mask.
Well,
and if they get together, they won't hug. Like nobody in my family, except for one of my stepbrothers, will hug. Everybody else is afraid. Can't hug you. I can't get that close. So you have your feel that I might get a virus or it's dangerous. Like I miss hugs. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
it is. I agree.
I went to Trader Joe's like 2 weeks ago to get some ingredients, and I was looking at like the different meat because I was making a bolognese, and this cute Trader Joe's worker like was like, do you need help? And like, I haven't flirted with someone in so long, but to like stand like face to face and like have this like mild flirtation exchange, I was like, wow.
Feels good, right?
It feels great.
Yeah. But half the social cues are gone now.
Yeah.
So you got to be really communicative and ask for what you want.
Yes. Body language, hand gestures.
Exactly.
But it was just so crazy. Like, it's just weird. Like, that's all gone right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're bringing in a world that wants it. And I recommend that to everybody, is start dreaming your dream inside and smile and think good thoughts. And I don't know, there's so many things that you can call out as darkness or bad or things are going on. Just stop giving them any energy. That's what Lori Ladd talked about. Just stop giving anything to the stories. And it's like, I want a world where 3 people can talk and about anything. We could be even talking about sexuality, like our last conversation. Yes. And there's no shame in it. It's just a truth. And it's getting back to something that we feel in our body and we can talk about and share with other people, find out that it's not shameful or it's not bad or there's nothing wrong with that. And then make that a new truth for all of us.
Yeah.
So.
And
it feels good. So why shouldn't people be able to just have fun and do whatever without any kind of hangups and restrictions? Like it's crazy, the things that we put on sexuality as human beings.
We'll make that the next topic, maybe. How's that sound?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Sexuality. That should bring some people. People will be triggering all over the place. So. It'll be like what's the Kingsman all over again. Everybody's brains exploding because we're given new truth.
Oh, that's gonna be a good one. No, I have so much to talk about that for sure for next time.
Cool.
Yeah. Well,
and if anybody wants to join or they have some experience in this area or whatever, come talk to us or send one of us a message if you know us, and I'll send you guys the link to this afterwards, and you can put it on it seems to be still going on Facebook. So,
awesome.
But you want to do it again next Monday, same time, same place?
Yeah.
I'll set up a Zoom link and let's get it out there. And it's just real people talking about
Real shit.
real shit. Yeah. And what the hell's going on. And get a few more in here, make it a round table, ask a question and answer, whatever, that make it free form.
Let's see what it grows into.
That sounds
I'm glad I finally got rid of my video cherry. I spent the first 20 minutes of this sweating profusely. I'm glad I finally settled in and have been able to get past all that. It's great.
Oh, so you had some anxiousness. Good.
Yeah. Oh, I was extremely. But you guys were really gentle with me, like you should be with the Virgin, so it worked out. It was nice.
Good. Well, when you already said that you get the better internet, you're going to be going hard. So
that's it. Once I'm down in the city, exactly.
Yeah.
That's why I keep looking at my phone. I'm like, how much is this Zoom? How much is this taking on my data plan? How much? Because I have a tally on there trying to watch it. So yeah.
Well, we should probably wind down a little bit. But any closing comments? You start with you, Anya. Do you want to close with something or anything?
This was great.
It was.
This was great. No, this was really good, and I'm looking forward to doing it again. And for anyone struggling, just remember to breathe. Take 6 deep breaths. That shit works.
Deep breaths.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of square breathing?
Mm-mm.
Where you breathe in for 4, you hold for 4, breathe out for 4,
yeah,
and then let it go. Same idea. And that's something they teach apparently in the military when you're in really heavy duty, is square breathing.
Yeah, it like changes like your parasympathetic system or
Nervous
something.
system,
Like
yep.
Yeah.
It just calms everything down, and I'm scared or whatever starts to go away because you get grounded.
I'll leave on this, but I thought, like, how would a millionaire breathe? You know, like if I was a millionaire, I would be breathing a different way. And I was like, why can't I inhabit that practice now? Like, I feel like if I was like who I wanted to become, I just thought about how I would want to breathe, because I would obviously breathe differently. So I thought about that.
Well, and then extend that to how would I walk? How would I talk? What things would I talk about? And you're going to find out that you're holding back on a whole bunch of shit, even in your body. Like mine, I just instantly crumple or pull in a little bit.
I'm doing that right now.
You're doing. Go ahead.
Said I'm doing that right now.
Absolutely. But let's get it out there and chest shining forward and smiling, because we don't give a fuck what anybody thinks anymore, right? We're the don't give a fuck crew, but love humanity.
Yes. That's a good panel. That's a good panel name.
Patrick, any closing remarks?
No, just whatever's going on in the world, do your best to focus on you. Whenever life gets crazy or I get pulled out of my center, I will just close my eyes, put my hand over my chest and just focus on my breathing. And usually after a few breaths, so you're centered and you're back in your body, and whatever was bothering you has floated away. And just remember, whatever is going on out there, everything in our reality is just a physical manifestation of the energetic shift that is going on in the world. Mm-hmm. So don't attach to any of it. It's just showing us what we're doing as a collective. So.
And the key to add to that is it's not selfish to put yourself first, because you can't do nothing for no one until you're fully grounded. And it's like putting the face mask on yourself first on the airplane, because you're going to suffocate if you can't be grounded. If you grab onto somebody that's ungrounded, you're only going to get more ungrounded.
You can't fill up other people's cup if your own cup is empty, right? So.
Agree.
Yeah.
Agree. So, yeah, learning that. How can I close it off? Good one that I said the other day. We're all empaths, a lot of us, and we're wandering around trying to fix people, help people. Our old people pleaser. We're feeling bad about people. You have to really understand that empathy is a gift, where we're starting to feel part of the collective, and we can feel other people's fields, their energies, their emotions, and all this kind of stuff. It's there as a sense so that you can interrelate with them, but it's not there that we're stronger than them and we're going to give a piece of ourselves to them to help make them feel better. We really have to get energetically sovereign and fill our cup first, just like Patrick said, and stop giving away parts of ourselves to, because we think it's making them feel better or it's saving them in some way. What you're going to find out at the end of all this is you had a sacred contract with them to not be involved, and you're literally fucking up their ability to move forward as well as yours by giving energy when they didn't need it. They had to hit bottom. They had to feel bad. They had to feel sorry. And if you really start seeing it that way, I don't know how many people, you'll get an emotion, you'll feel sad for no reason and you don't know why. you're literally that 10% of you that's over helping Sally there is feeling sad because Sally's feeling sad right now. Take that energy back. Give them their time. We'll come back to that one. Jason Estes, he's talking about empathic narcissist, but that's a new thing that's coming online where it's people that want for the world and they're empathic, but it's not at other people's expense. It's like, I don't give a damn what the other thoughts are, because really I want to create a reality that's for me. And if you want to come along for the ride, great. It's not, you're having to convert everyone. So that was a little side path, but just be aware that we are energetically close and can be easily attached to other people. And we really need to start learning our sovereign boundaries and filling our cup first. And we can never give anything to anybody else unless our cup's 100%, and we can then give from the overflow. So
Preach.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll sign off. Oh, there's an hour and 45 minutes. Oh, pretty well.
Wow.
It was
That
beautiful.
went by quick.
Yeah.
Nice. Didn't seem like it at all.
We will shoot for 2 p.m. Mountain, 1 p.m. East or Pacific, and with that 4 p.m.
4 p.m. my
Eastern.
time.
And we'll come back again on Monday. And if we like it enough, I'd love to have a couple of these a week. We'll see how it goes. But just talk about whatever's showing up.
Sweet. This was awesome. Thank you for setting this up.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Thanks, Paul.
It wouldn't be anything without these beautiful souls here surrounding me. So thank you. Otherwise, it's just me talking about my ego shit or whatever my truth is.
I love it. I love it.
It's fun. Yeah. Cool. Well, signing off from Calgary here. Paul here.
Have a great day, guys.
Yep.
I'll see you next time.
Bye.
See y'all. Thanks.